opening statement. We are here today to discuss very serious allegations that directly impact the personal and professional reputation of one of this department's most outstanding members. This department has a very strong policy against any form of harassment, and specific reporting guidelines were clearly not followed. We first learned of the allegations made by Mr. Stoker in a communication dated May 10, 2005. On May 19th, our attorney responded by requesting further information. To date, Mr. Stoker has not submitted that further information. Our review of Mr. Stoker's allegations continues at this time. Mr. Stoker is a very troubled individual who is facing termination. He has refused to undergo a required psychological examination, and he has not worked in a firehouse in more than 2 years. I've never seen the report Mr. Winters claims to have submitted to me in December of 2003. We have never discussed his sensational allegations, nor has any member of our department made any mention of them in any way. I have questioned several of the superior officers in the chain of command and the union representatives, and no one in our department has any knowledge of these allegations. Therefore, I believe this alleged report, which I have never received, to be completely fraudulent. Mr. Winters has a long history of making numerous false charges against fellow firefighters and officers. All of his previous allegations have been proven to be completely false in every case. He has virtually no credibility, in my opinion. The individual who is the subject of these allegations has an exemplary record as a chief officer in this department and his outstanding service to the community, and as a highly decorated Vietnam veteran who earned the Bronze Star, along with many other medals. Because of the serious nature of these allegations, all of which date back to 2003, we are compelled to conduct a thorough evaluation and review. We will determine whether these allegations are true or false, and then take appropriate action at that time. I will now answer any questions I may have.
Does anybody else want to go first?
No.
Do I have the floor?
Yes, you do.
Tell me a little bit more about your sexual harassment policy. How does it work, and have you put it to use in the past?
We've never had occasion to put it to use before. We've had a sexual harassment policy since the very inception of this department.
And what do you do to further get out the message about your sexual harassment policy? Where, like, how is it posted? How do you get the word out about it?
This sexual harassment policy is within our rules and regulations, a copy of which was given to every member of the department when we first regionalized.
Is that it?
That's it.
Because it says that you are supposed to give out an annual anonymous and confidential questionnaire on the established policy and procedure.
Any questions of that nature, I would have to refer to my local counsel.
Do you hand out an anonymous questionnaire each year?
The chief just told you that he's referring that question to Corporation Counsel.
Okay. Does the chief hand out an anonymous questionnaire each year?
Our office is in charge of reviewing the allegations with regard to sexual harassment, and there has been no complaints ever filed.
But you don't hand out the annual questionnaires as
There has been no
stipulated in your
complaints
policy.
ever filed, so there's no questionnaire to hand out. You cannot investigate if no one makes any allegations, and there are no allegations ever made, except when you called us yesterday.
Right. The policy is also supposed to be disseminated annually. Is it disseminated annually?
The policy was given out to every member of the department for his own private use.
And we're directing further questions to the Court Counsel.
Is the policy disseminated
Yes.
annually?
The policy is disseminated annually.
How is it disseminated?
It is disseminated through a handout, which is you have in front of you.
And these are given out to members every year?
They're given out to members with a memo to review the rules and regulations, yes. And I might add that Officer Winters indicates there is no policy, and obviously you have a 3-page document in front of you that reflects there is a policy.
There's also supposed to be mandatory training of officers regarding sexual harassment policy and procedures. Is there mandatory training? on sexual harassment?
Again, I'll refer that question to corporate counsel.
The training is being done as a result of the New Jersey Supreme Court case in Gaines versus Polino, and we are presently scheduling that training.
But there has been no training since the inception of the department 6 years ago?
There has been no training since the inception of the department 6 years ago.
Chief, you know that the nature of these allegations is it's very tense. One of the things that was noted in Captain Winter's report was that a member did not want to come forward because of fear of retaliation. How are you going to conduct this investigation knowing that members are very reticent to speak on the record because of fear of retaliation?
Well, I don't agree that members are reticent to speak on the record. Members speak up all the time. We encourage them to speak up all the time. Just because when Mr. Winters said they're reticent, I don't believe it. And I don't believe anything that man says.
I also have 2 other firefighters who I have spoken to confidentially, and they have indicated that they are very reticent to come forward with any allegations because of fear of retaliation. Is there an environment of intimidation here at North Hudson that would preclude members from coming forward with these
Absolutely
accusations?
not. There's never been an environment. We encourage members to come forward. We have 2 unions that they can go to. There are numerous opportunities and methods for them to come forward, either through the unions, a safety and health committee. We establish a lot of committees with the unions. There's plenty of ways for members to come forward, and that has not happened. And again, just because Captain Winters stated something, I find it very hard to believe. I also find it hard to believe that he spoke to a fireman on the phone, and even Captain Winters doesn't know who the man's name is. That's a ridiculous statement, and I'm offended by it. And I find his allegations disgusting to be used against a fine officer of the caliber of Battalion Chief Severino.
How many firefighters and fire officers?
We have 328 firefighters and fire officers.
So if somebody declined to name themselves on the phone, would it be reasonable that perhaps he would know a voice of one of
I
328
think Captain Winters
members?
would recognize the voice of anyone, and I think would also be pretty stupid of him to continue a conversation with someone he doesn't know, or a stranger at that point.
Is he required as a captain to listen when somebody calls him up with such a serious
If the member is a
allegation?
member under his command, he is. If it's a member from another command, he has no business listening to it, and he should at least request his name before he goes further with a piece of garbage like this.
He was required to submit that in a proper manner along the chain of command, not to allegedly hand it to a secretary. He didn't do that either.
So your secretary, Miriam, never did receive this?
Correct.
Have you had conversations with your secretary?
I did not, the corporate counsel did.
Let me ask you, Ralph, you
Sure.
had conversations with Mary about receipt of a confidential document. Did she have any recollection?
She has no recollection of ever receiving this document.
Does she have a good memory?
She has an excellent memory.
Also,
It
It's
may-
a pretty cowardly act to hide behind this woman. When he knows full well that he's supposed to report this to the battalion chief, deputy chief, and go up to the proper chain of command as outlined in the policy, it's very cowardly to hide behind the chief secretary.
is it common that documents are lost here? at
No, it's
North
never
Hudson?
happened before. We have a very clear policy for the submission of correspondence reports to the chief of department. They go through the chain of command, and at the same time, the person writing the report verbally informs his superior officer. That never happened because I spoke to this man's superior officer, and they have no knowledge of it.
And the documents are stamped.
And the documents would be stamped had I received them. I can't stamp something I never received.
Because he also submitted another report to you on February 5th stating that he was very concerned that many of these reports were not getting to you, and he had requested information about a November 20th, 2003 correspondence report where he requested a full and independent investigation be conducted on the disappearance of data that had been erased from a hard drive. Can you tell me, was that investigation ever conducted?
Yes, it was.
And if I may also, that matter and his allegations were referred both by us to the New Jersey Attorney General's office, to the County Prosecutor's office, and to the Division of fire safety for the state of New Jersey, and they were all dismissed out of hand.
Do you have documents that can help me with that?
Absolutely.
Okay,
All
so you'll send
dismissed
that-
out of hand.
So you'll get that to me?
Correct.
Let's talk about firefighter Stoker. Tell me where everything stands with him right now.
Firefighter Stoker is facing termination by this department. We are waiting for a ruling from a hearing officer. He has not worked in approximately 2 years in a firehouse. He has major discipline, numerous charges against him, and we are waiting final determination to terminate this firefighter.
And why is he being terminated?
I would not care to discuss the,
It's inappropriate for the chief to discuss a personnel matter. We recognize that Officer Stoker has spoken, firefighter Stoker has spoken to you, I believe, but only about an allegation in a letter he sent, not about his disciplinary charges. So it's inappropriate for him to do that without firefighter Stoker waiving it.
It was my understanding, and you had actually, I can't remember, I'm sorry. I think that, Paul, you had brought it up, that he was being terminated for refusing to submit to a psychiatric examination.
I don't think I said that that was the reason why he's being terminated. What I said was that he has refused to submit to a required psychiatric evaluation, even though his union approved that process to happen. This is a very troubled individual.
Isn't it true that he didn't refuse the examination, he refused to sign the waiver? And that he stated that he wanted...
He refused to allow the department to learn the findings of the examination if he agreed to do it, which would make the examination, the whole point of having the examination.
I think he refused to sign the waiver.
And what is the
release
waiver?
form. Well, it states that he can't sue anybody. It has there are a whole bunch of stipulations
No,
on here.
the waiver is a waiver from the psychiatrist or psychologist. It's not our waiver.
Right.
This is a psychologist who has practiced in this area and represents many public entities, and he refused to sign it. He had to be examined. He can sue whoever he wants to sue. I'm sure he sent us a notice of claim, so I'm sure he knows how to sue.
Right, but my question being, he wanted to be examined so that he could be certified as being fit for duty, but was not allowed to be examined by a psychiatrist who doesn't require a waiver. And
That's
he
not-
was, in fact, he was examined by another psychologist, and he was listed as fit to perform duty again, but, so I want to know kind of where this is.
If he wanted to receive the psychological examination, he would have taken it. He obviously did not want to take it. And I'll also tell you, Mr. Stoker has made a hobby of refusing to follow orders of his superiors. And that's why he's facing the termination that he is.
Even from your own Captain Denbrough, and it was a report sent to you, Chief, it says that he said he would take the test, he just refused to sign the release form.
He did not take the test.
In order to take the test, you have to sign the release form.
Why not take him to a psychologist who doesn't require a release? As
The
he-
department has
as
the
he
right
previously
to
said.
select its own psychologist, which we do. We don't go around giving any psychologist that the firefighter would like to go to. We have our own department psychologist. This is the way he operates, and we expect our members to follow our rules, not their own rules.
Would you say, in light of this, in light of the information that I'm bringing you, that it shows that there is a pattern of intimidation and a pattern of creating a fearful
No,
environment?
absolutely not. I say there's a pattern of two disgruntled employees not happy with their position in life, with their position in the fire department, and as a result, they are raising really, again, disgusting charges which really bother me, because they brought against the personal reputation of a fine officer and a patriot who served his country in the war. And it really disgusts me that two members